sometimes, isn't it, really? And that's going to be a big factor here. Well, Trav, we thank you for your time, mate. We'll pop back in with you later on. Teddy's going to join me for this grand finals as we head in to Heist and Bridge Too Far. The poll at event.brawlstars.com coming in, Teddy. 66% is with Clash, and that is a big favor. 2/3 of the population going with that team as opposed to Zest as the first draft in for Brock is there. For Zest looking to break open. The fans coming in were Eve, Bonnie, draft of Nanny. Quite like that one myself here. Big time. We saw it a lot yesterday in the EMEA. Batting a Colt though, as well as the Grom. B coming in here for Clash. Some big favorite brawlers we've already seen today. Colette being banned and Max also on the side of Zest.
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing on both sides, especially on Clashes, just making sure that, you know, there's not going to be any sort of opportunities to run tanks. I think that A-Bit might even struggle a little bit against the B potentially. We'll have to see how well they are able to play that one out. But there is a lot of burst damage on safe available on Zest. So if they at any point win a lane clearly enough that they have free access to that safe, that is going to be dangerous. So really not as much room for mistakes for Clash because they just don't quite have the same damage capabilities on safe, especially with Bell joining the roster now. Nani is going to be their biggest DPS on safe, and it's really not the reigning champion either when it comes to that category. So very different ideas here, very long range on the side of Clash, still long range on Zest, a little bit less because of the Lola, but they do have much more damage on safe, whether it's Brock, Lola, or 8-Bit. They all are so good at just running down on that safe. So if it comes down to a base race, Zest are going to be winning that. And if they are in very even fights, they should be winning it too, just because, you know, every time they get a kill, they should be able to capitalize more damage on that safe.
Oh, here we go. I do like the fact that Clash have got the Bell on their side against the Lola, and as long as they keep, I was going to say keep the B away from their lane, I might want to swap lanes in a bit once the Ego comes into play, but so far VT Zim is keeping things at bay as the amplified shot as well, but down there goes Kydog in the mid. That'll allow Pekka to consider going forwards and juking nicely as well to keep his full HP. Tufa will go down as well, and that's the first sign of damage. Zest are looking very, very much in control here. I like what I'm seeing so far from them. It's Clash that's struggling to get out their spawn, and that's a lot of incendiary power there. Pekka really utilizing a lot there as the save. 76% damage is all that remains now.
Yeah, I feel like the matchups themselves are not really, you know, that much in Clash's favor. For now, the B onto the Lola is alright because there's no Ego. Once there is an Ego, especially when it's shielded up, it can be a little bit of a nightmare to deal with. But either way, Zest are just winning every single fight so far and able to capitalize with so much damage on safe. Every single rocket, they're dealing over 3,000 damage. That's just so much value. And so far, Zest have been able to just completely dominate across all three lanes. And it's taken 83% damage on safe before Clash really started winning their own lanes and pushing up the map and go for some more map control.
Nice work from Kydog, just staying alive here. But Pekka is the problem. He really is. Rocket number 4. It's not going to take many shots at all to be able to finalize this game, and a very important peep there. A very important takedown from VT Zim. We need to see Clash now really start to push through. I'm surprised that VT Zim has not swapped lanes in all honesty and gone for the 8-Bit, as it would have been a much more favorable matchup for him, but nonetheless, it's now time to batten down the hatches for Clash as they cannot allow Zest to get much more damage, and this could be the damage running in here. Firecrow's locking on. VT Zim's trying to struggle between bouncing between the middle and the left-hand side lane. They're hanging on by a fraction here, Teddy.
Yeah, this is just not going in Clash's direction. They are able to find some value here and there, but even then, capitalizing on safe is the next challenge. And either way, with this little time left, they just don't quite have nor the DPS nor the positioning to get.
Like, just swap the lane, swap the matchup, put the Bell onto the Lola, put the B onto the 8-Bit, and I mean, the Nanny can pretty much go anywhere realistically here. But I mean, Pekka is such an issue that they have not been realistically dealing with, in my opinion, very well in that last game, and they're giving themselves the harder matchups. They are swapping out the lanes in the right and left. They're keeping Bell in the mid with Pekka, but I think the Nanny would be better onto that, to be honest, and have the Bell up against the Lola. Let's see though whether Clash will start to work out their system here. Ooh, TP there was nice there from Tufa. Good job on the left-hand side, and allow him to push through and just hang on with a sliver of health.
Yeah, nicely done by Clash, and a much better job this time around. And as I said earlier, the comp here from Clash relies on them pretty much winning their lane constantly, because they can't just go for a little bit of damage, you know, here and there, because they will be losing any sort of base race. They will be losing any sort of interactions directly on safe. So they need those duels to go their way and make sure to keep Zest as far away as possible from their safe, because they just simply cannot match that sort of damage. Too Fast should be going down on the left side. Takes a minute, but eventually he does go down. A trade as VTZin and Karodog are able to get a nice pinch onto that right lane, but Motep finds access to the safe and is able to get a couple percentages off. Still a pretty decent lead early on here for Clash. With a minute left on the clock, there is still a lot of time for Zest to try to turn things around.
Karodog is playing an incredible battle. He really is, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know why they're not putting the bell on the Lola. I mean, it's like the hardest counter you can really have to it, and it's going to deflate so much of the ego. Tufa's struggling a little bit on that left-hand side lane, and that's a problem, really. Now this, oh, that was a great takedown. Very important, so, because Peck is the one they cannot leave on the safe necessarily as much as some of the others, but extra credits there from Motep. It's going to go a long, long way to getting the damage that they need. Just 7% now would give Zest the edge.
25 seconds left, and Zest really not far behind. This is their chance to secure the set potentially. They really don't want to go to that third game. Every single little advantage counts, especially as an underdog. Eventually, damage booster is going to be replaced by Motep. Sorry, they are going to be trying to force a fight through the mid. There's a chance, perhaps. Pekka has a super as well. That's quite a bit of damage, and that should be enough.
Be able to assert yourselves in the positioning power that we just didn't realistically see on the side of Clash. You know, it was Zest that were already asserting themselves on the map more so. So going into Ring of Fire and Hot Zone, I want to see more objective play from Clash. You know, they've been really good at displaying that so far today, and it was unlike them, in my opinion, in that last matchup, in all honesty. First pick coming from Zest would be B, the Meg being banned out there from Clash, as well as the Stu, and interesting to see Clash banning out Stu. They obviously really think that without the coin toss in their favor, that could have been the first pick, but Zest chose to ban it themselves alongside the Squeak and the Penny as well. Max banned out is going to make a big difference here as well on Ring of Fire.
Yeah, it does seem like Stu is a brawler that they immensely value in this South American region. Is being picked a lot, banned a lot, and it just seems like one of the go-tos in a lot of different maps and modes. Ruffs is going to be the first pick for Clash this time around. I don't mind it here. It's probably not, you know, the wildest brawler to bring to the mix. It does well, don't get me wrong. The buffs as well can really help snowball slowly but surely the game in your advantage. And Janet, as a follow-up, also synergizes quite nicely because, you know, you're keeping that counter away if you want to be playing those sandbags on the Ruffs. The most likely counter to it in Hot Zone, especially Ring of Fire, is going to be the Janet.
I don't mind it at all, but there needs to be some aggression. It's almost like both sides have banned out so many aggressive ideas. Griff is an interesting one. I've got always a soft spot for Griff. I just feel like in the last balance change we saw, like, Griff just kind of fell off a little bit. We haven't really seen much play rate for it, but it can open up a world of hurt, honestly, in Ring of Fire. I just feel like there's other brawlers which can cause more of a problem, like the Janet in those little areas in the side lanes. Push your opposition, move further into the mid here. Let's see what they back it up with. It's their third and final pick, and it does need to be something along the same lines. Spike wouldn't be the worst idea for a lane here, to be honest. More of a safer pair of hands. It is going to be that pair of hands which Let's go for, actually. So I think that this is kind of a safe option, but now Clash can be a bit more daring in what they choose to be able to match up with it. It will deter away the idea of the Daryl. We've seen Clash playing it so much today with those tanky ideas. That could be what Zest were working towards in terms of their strategy here. But it is just a little bit safe on the side of Zest, in my opinion.
Oh, Bo, that's an interesting way to go. I mean, it's definitely a little bit in line with a Spike here as well. Something that is, you know, pretty much just going to be hanging out at max range. Not the hardest shots to dodge either, but just a very solid fighter overall. And the utility from the mines can be quite nice as well to build up some time or relocate your opponents if they are already in the zone. So I don't mind it. I'm not entirely sure which side I would be leaning towards with those comps. I feel like both have different ideas to offer. Zest is maybe just a little bit more extreme in the tank counters, and they're not really facing any this time around.
Yeah, I think they were just covering the bases, weren't they, really? But I love Clash's comp. I think Bo here, so good. Great for delaying the onset onto the objective. But in terms of the ability to suppress as well, you can see Pekka already struggling a little bit, despite the honeycomb coming in now, placing down the honey molasses as well to take a couple of shots as he's one shot away from death here. And on the right-hand side as well, Tufa being able to push his way forwards to keep Motep away from Kayadog. Already almost 30% of time on the safe, and BT Zim clearing up the left-hand side lane can now push himself forwards and get rid of the life plant as well. It's a great start for Clash, a big difference to what we saw in the first set.
Yeah, I think that one of the mechanics that can quite easily be overlooked at a pro level, where everyone dodges so well. With Bo, you don't really need to focus as much on hitting your shots. You can just kind of shoot in the general direction of your opponent. It's wide enough to cover a lot of ground and then focus solely on dodging those B shots, making sure that you give as little connections away as possible. And so far it's been doing wonders here for Clash, able to just really stay in that zone for an awful long time. Zest unable to find any sort of solution to get them out of there. The mine still standing there, as eventually, they get popped and communication or information was not relayed properly, as it is going to be a team wipe, and Clash should be running away with this one quite safely.
Absolutely textbook from Clash. Honestly, what a difference. And this is what I was expecting to see from them in Heist, and we just didn't see it. BT Clash, and it's great to see them back in the game now and looking like in a phenomenal position to take this set.
Well, jumping into the next game, this is the chance for Clash to even up the scoreboard, take a set of their own, and actually take Zest's first in this monthly final, as Clash just lost their first set in the previous game. Mines unlocked by Kayodog, placed down in the bush, wants to make sure they don't have access to any speed gears or information in those bushes. As Motep pushes forward, not quite gonna overcommit, still finds some value, but it gets taken out before he could use that super, and the walls will be going away as well as the bow mine takes care of them.
We saw the lane swap as Motep wants to really enforce his left-hand side better and forcing back Sim far more consistently now, and it's giving Kayadog a bit more of a problem to think about on the left-hand side, but he's actually juggling his tasks wondrously well, honestly. Getting down the mid before then going back towards the helping hands, and now Firecrow's going to see his demise as well. The life plant did not keep him alive. It's just keeping Clash in the game here, despite the attempts of Zest to try to adapt around this bout of control, which Clash have been seemingly showing the entire time. 20% now is all that remains on the objective to the 20% that they've only been able to obtain themselves.
Yeah, this is a dominant game, even more so than the previous one. Too far, lands a little bit in the middle of everyone there, but it does end up being a 2-for-1 trade in the end. Pekka low HP as well. VT Zim gonna have to get out of position for now. Supply drop not quite gonna land on his target, but he's still able to find an awful lot of damage. Kayodong in the zone, gonna place down some more mines. Pekka, yeah, there's just kind of no way out there. The mine's perfectly placed. Motep will be able to defuse the last one. Zest are catching up rapidly. Clash are still quite close to the finish line.
Yeah, this is really commendable actually from Zest here. I feel like they could get this game actually now. The Clash have dropped the ball a little bit. Now creeping ever forwards towards equalizing the scoreline. Kayadog's juking now, but the shot there from Pekka was strong. 10% is all that Clash need. They're hanging on, but Motep now, with such a sliver of HP, should be able to join Pekka now to seal Kayadog. The mines will be a problem to be able to get around here. It's going to be so incredibly close. Will Zest be able to do it? They should be able to bring...
You just, yeah, remain ice cold and make sure that they are in the best conditions to try to take this second set, build that early lead in the match and catch Clash off guard. No room for mistakes here. They don't want to give away a second set already.
Look at Motep. Look how deep he is now into the spawn, and the Kayadog is forced all the way over to the right-hand side, far from where we've ever seen him before in the previous two games. Tufa's trying his best on the right-hand side, but it seems like the formation of Clash is all over the place. Such a vast comparison to the first game that we saw. They just had every single lane taken care of. Running Motep on this left-hand side has really made a big difference, and it's 50% already in favor of Zest. What a turnaround here.
Yeah, the momentum shift is unbelievable now in favor of Zest, and Motep has a big part to do with it. Look at his dominance on the left-hand side. He's absolutely bullying Clash with great supers as well, keeping them in spawn. And it seems like Clash just have no answer whatsoever. They were so dominant the two first games, and yet it's going to be Zest more likely than not going away with the set.
Where did it all go wrong? I mean, in that first game, I was certain, absolutely certain, that Clash had this one in the bag. They learned from their mistakes, and as quickly as that, such little going on. But it goes to show that there's so much control happening on the side of Zest. They're not necessarily confirming the kills, but they're keeping everyone on the side of Clash low enough and suppressed enough to be able to carry out the objective. Now, Bounty is a bit of a different story. The kills and deaths are going to matter far more here, and that could well go in Clash's favor. But one thing's for certain, they've got to start to be the more like themselves and the more like the Clash that we're used to seeing. Banning out the Sprout, the Max, and the Carl on the side of Clash and getting an early draft in there of the Squeak and the pick of Janet, which we've seen time and time again all day long for Zest. Banning out the Tick, the Eve, and the Grom. The Otis coming in to combine with it, but there's a big lack of tanks, Teddy, and it would not be at all surprised to see Clash bringing in the Daryl.
Yeah, I would really love to see something more along those lines. And as you rightly mentioned, we saw them being so aggressive earlier. It feels like so far against Zest, they've been a little bit shy almost. And it's going to be a Penny as their second pick. They have third pick to be locked in any second now. And it's going to be a Gale. This just doesn't really feel like a Clash comp to me. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, it feels a little bit out of place. And so far, that's just not been working against Zest.
Yeah, they're scared of the, they lost the coin toss, so they can't really go in with a tank-heavy idea because Zest would be able to counter it. But, I mean, Gale's kind of dropped off massively for me. You know, much to my dismay, I mean, I still feel like it's got a lot of potential for tanks, and that's clearly what Clash were worried about. But Zest, obviously, we're not going to choose to go with that. So they're kind of left now with this Brawler, which they didn't really want to have, but had to pick because they were scared of what Zest might bring to the table. And I mean, looking at the draft now, I mean, Zest have got a fantastic comp here in my opinion, but the Squeak can shut down the lanes quite heavily on the side of Clash. So if Zest do lose control and Clash do want to use the sticky residue to be able to really suppress them back into that spawn side, it can go a long way here. But Zest have got so much momentum now, so much ability to be able to control this situation. It's going to come down to who gets this high ground early on.
Jumping in, Blue Star is going to be picked up by VT Zim, and the first kill will be as well. Tree now in favor of Clash, and that is the start they needed. Motep falls as well, a lot of damage onto Pekka. He might get caught off guard there as well, and a just beautiful pinch from VT Zim. What an interesting approach to this map as well. Bringing in a Gale against virtually no tanks in a lot of regions is just not really the approach you would go for, right? Gale against no tanks and in a non-really control-based mode. That is quite something, and Clash so far, it's absolutely working out for them.
They're dropping like flies on the side of Zest. They're just giving stars over to Clash, it seems. But the sticky residues now, there's only one left for Tufa, and that could make a difference on this left-hand side lane. But there's a lot of stars for Zest to be able to potentially clear up here if they want, and that's the first sign of it. As Tufa goes down and VT's in with 5 above his head. Plenty of time for a turnaround despite things, because Clash have just had such a great start. But sometimes in Bounty, it's all about the finish. And that's where Zest can kind of creep in and make themselves able to get a match point today. Pekka low and Micro Motep full HP as they close in here. And it's going to take a lot to be able to defend this push.
10 in favor, make it 8 now as Motep gets a nice pickup onto Tufa. Kayodog is next to full, and what was an absolutely massive lead is slowly becoming slimmer and slimmer as Tufa is in a very awkward position there. He ends up getting shut down, only 2 stars now. Kayodog falls, it's all even, but Clash have the blue star. If anyone on their side falls, it's gonna be match point for Zest, but can they get the kill?
My tongue needs to stop. I'm jinxing this whole thing, and oh dear, Clash. Oh dear, what a great start. I mean, my predictions as well are in jeopardy here, Teddy. I think I'm like 13 and 14 now over the weekend. I'm banking on Clash here to bring home a win, but you got to ask yourself the question, you know, if they're having that much of a flying start and lead, what are they going to do to hang on to it? Zest are playing this perfect. You can't deny it. They know as well as anyone that it's all about positioning power, and towards the end of that game, just getting themselves locked into that mid and forcing down Clash and just playing it slow and steady from there. There's so many stars there to take, and take them they did. Now, it is Zest with the commanding lead to start with 5 stars in the blue star, but most of our position here, he can take the skies, and that's what he won't be able to do with a salty power from Dog. Beautiful play from him. But in the meanwhile, Firecrow will get Sim taken care of, and it's back to a, well, there's now a 7-star lead for Clash for Zest.
Wow, incredible start here from Zest. Clash getting some kills here and there, but just not really able to match the energy for now. Dog also very low HP, eventually caught by Motep. What I think was so surprising with the previous game is that Clash have like the most defensive comp ever. They were able to destroy them whilst like pretty much pushing them back to their spawn, and then as soon as they had to defend, they were just unable to do any of it. Whilst having Gil, that really arguably is the most defensive brawler in the game, and brawlers like Penny and Squeak that are very defensive too. So I'm a little bit unsure by what's been going wrong here for Clash, but it really seems like it's all over the place. And Zest, in the last 20 seconds, they're going to be heading towards there with a 9-star lead still.
It's a great lead here, but Zest are on the ropes. Can they defend it enough? Take home their first win of the year. Heck, with the Rocket Rain out, and it's not quite connecting, but there's so many stars to be able to take for Clash, and I don't know if they got the time. 6 is what they're going to need, and there is not really 6 to be found except for Firecrow, who's actually going to pick up a kill for himself, and Zest